Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Shibumi Boat Build, and I think this is episode 24. So I've had the weekend off. We're now on, I think it's the 30th of August, Sunday. It's a beautiful day here in Dungarvan. We're not really doing anything much today, but what I am doing is I'm going to show you and start this episode with some very cool things that have been happening in the background. So let me just rotate the camera. So folks, just to show you, these are two new pieces to us, and this is the radius 90-degree bend to get the exhaust out through the rear bulkhead into the aft cabin, in under my bed and out the back, and this will be the pipe out the back. So this is 152 millimeters. It's quite hard stuff to get. We actually tried several different companies. I looked online, I couldn't find it. In the end, I actually rang someone. I'm not going to name the person, but I actually rang someone who was in a position in their workplace to source these things, and you can see here it was beautifully made. They actually added on the bits either end to make exactly what I wanted, and they were all done in a matter of days. I collected them last week, and I have to say thank you so much to the person who did this for us, and it'll be remembered. Thank you. So the other news, of course, is the hydraulic tank, which is in here, and this now has been sitting. I didn't show you this initially when we did the truck tour a number of episodes back, when I was showing all the bits and pieces that were just stored in the truck before the engine came out. This is the hydraulic tank. It was made by Vetus. It was designed exactly to do what we want on board. All the solenoids are there, all the valves are there to handle it all. So we've the bow thruster, these are marked up, stern thruster, windlass, and also the mast lowering. Now it's supposed to be the radar arch, but it's they just named it mast. And then that's the load sensing system, and the load sensing system in hydraulics means that we don't have to engage or disengage the hydraulic pump to make the hydraulics work. Basically what happens is, once the pressure mounts when the system isn't being used by the pump turning, it actually disengages the clutch in the pump, and then once the load comes back on it, as in the pressure goes back down, that it needs hydraulic fluid going to one of the devices that we have, it automatically reconnects on a clutch system and works, and the engine will just idle up. We won't ever have to switch in things in and out. So all the piping is on the other side. This tank holds, I think, 40 litres of hydraulic fluid. That's a complete guess, but I think it is something like that, 40 litres or maybe 50. What we have here is the little needle valves. They're the ones that go to the radar arch, and the idea of these is that they can literally turn down the flow down to absolutely nothing. They use these on lifts of trucks and stuff, where they want the hydraulic ram to move really slowly and in a controlled way. And obviously with the rams on the radar arch, that's what we want. We want like 20 seconds or 30 seconds for it to go from up to down, down to up. Otherwise it would be very dangerous, and it would just literally just fly up and break everything that's on top of itself, and possibly itself. So we need to, that will set the level that we can actually move that in. So that's and these are all electronic valves then, so there's no levers whatsoever, not like in a digger or something like that. And we actually, these will connect directly to the joysticks and the computer system of the boat, and to various buttons to make it all work. So this tank had been sitting in the truck in a box. Now the box had rotted and everything, that truck is damp. All these little bits and pieces had become, I won't say, well, this is actually brand new. It just looked aged, and it had little bits of corrosion on some of the solenoids, and you can see. So Dara actually, in fairness, spent hours over the weekend at this and tidied it all up and left it looking like new. So at least we're putting in new. Now hydraulics have a vibration in them. They can have a vibration, like a frequency, like a buzz in them. Once the pipes are under pressure and stuff, so we want to minimize that. So we're actually going to mount, I've just one of them put under it there, we're going to mount the whole tank on 4 of these rubber mounts as well. That'll keep it very smooth inside in the boat. This will be mounted somewhere behind the fuel tank on the right hand side of the boat. The hydraulic pump is on that side of the engine, and I'll put it in at the back there sideways so that we can still get at all the bits, and it'll be flexible hoses onto steel pipes then going off to the various parts of the boat, and then flexible then onto the device. So we'll just have 2 little sets of hoses either end, so that'll work fine. So look forward to making space for this. And the other thing now, because we're adding weight to the boat, we have to be careful obviously not to put everything on the one side, or we'll have a list. So we're now starting to mark up a little drawing with like an Excel sheet, but it'll basically show us what weight we're putting where in each of the areas of the boat, and then countering it so that we're keeping balance as best we can within a few kg either side, so that we're not going to have a listing boat. Had it years ago with a boat my dad bought. They put the fuel tank and the battery on the one side of the boat. A brand new boat was launched here in Dungarvan, and the thing listed about 4 degrees, and it just looked wrong. So it was a simple fix, but we're not going to try and avoid all of these things, and literally know exactly what amount of weight we have on each side of the boat, fore, aft, left and right, port, starboard, take a pick. We're still, because it's a building, I suppose, referring to the boat on the left hand side and the right hand side instead of port and starboard. But in time, I presume that'll all move on to nautical terms. We're still talking about bedrooms and kitchens and bathrooms and stuff, and not using the correct terminology. But it's still a building site, so I suppose in time this will all happen. So that's our little update for now. So excuse the wind noise. That's the second of them. Now they're only literally barely tacked together. I can stiffen them up in time, but if I weld too much on those, they will actually bow. So it's only a weld every couple of inches. And I've already made the first one, and they've turned out to be square. I have a straight edge there, that aluminium profile outside. So that's that one. So now I'm going to mark up and do the closed bends, the acute bends. So there's our new angle. So that'll meet the front edge of the tank, and the wider ones are for the back of the tank. And there's the other ones made already, as you saw. So I'm going to leave those as they are. I'm going to check them with that bit of 2.5 meter aluminium there, which is my straight edge. It's very rigid. And just check those and make sure they're okay. And then I'll start cutting the actual angle for the sides, which is actual fixed angle, 90 degrees. And then I'll taper them into the joints. I probably need a bigger workspace. That's only 2 feet wide, that little deck there. I'll put a 4-foot one over, and that way I can build a whole frame by just shoving the ends off it, because they're slightly longer than 8 feet. So I'm just about to tack the first of the 2 bases for the fuel tanks, and you can see the angles are maintained. I'll tidy up that bit in there. And corner to corner welding out here, and then I'll re-weld it all. So I've just mocked it up now to make sure I have my clearances inside, so that both sides work. And because it's over 8 feet long and these decks are only 8 feet long, I'll have to do both ends separately, but that's fine, I can weld those. So just keep it straight there, do the same on that side, move it up and do the other end. So we do that now. So excuse the bit of wind there, that's the second one now done, and it's all just an inch at a time over and back between the two sides, trying to stop it from warping. It's warped slightly, there's about a quarter of an inch, half an inch in the middle of it, which is fine because it's going to be stood on 4 brackets into the hull, and we will line those up and use the straight line edge there to set them all. So the other one's on the floor there, so I'll tidy those up in due course. So along with making the 2 tank frames, I've tidied up the hole underneath of where I'd welded that in weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and I'm about to organise next week. The sheet of plate is 5mm. It has to come in to the supplier, he's out of it at the moment, and do the next piece. We have the other side to do as well and weld, and this is really the last bit on the hull. So I've protected the paintwork from sparks and anything damaging it for now. So I'm just welding that seam underneath there. So there's going to be filling pieces put in here. Sorry, I'll move that cloth. That's going to have to be filled. There's just no way around it. It's because the swim deck on this boat should only come as far as here and no further. But of course we have the full thickness of it. This is not an option. Actually, I decided I wanted one. So when it came to getting the steel cut, I made sure I had it. So that's done now. I'll grind those back later. There's a few tacks there where I've just worked around. I might have to just do a little bit of dentistry there, but nothing major. And that's fully penetrated up in between the two. You can actually see the flame going out on the torch and back up again as the wire went up the gap, and then I'd have to arc it up again from the other side. So I'm happy with that. That's sealed. So I'm working on the other side now, and I guess the reason why this never really got plated earlier on, now we've cleaned all this out, we've the other side cleaned before we put on that new piece. But when the boat was cut, for some reason, I'll just zoom in on it there, we've a 5mm difference between the two plates. So they were lined up on the top, which of course meant the swim deck was level, which is fine. But here, so essentially in order to keep this right, I put in all these spacers. They're all the right height, and it does mean that I've got this problem. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to have to layer and layer and layer welds onto all of that is solid metal. I have about 1.5 meters of it to do. It's going to take quite a while, a lot of welding stuff, a lot of gas, but it's the only way it can be done. There's going to be absolutely no filler back here whatsoever. It's going to be pure metal. So that's where it's at. So I'll just keep working away here and see how I get on.